Ladies and gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas. Everything's going on right now. We got a lot of different. I literally turned on the TV today, and there were a million different Christmas shows going on. So we're in full festivities. I just want to wish everybody a happy holidays. And if you don't celebrate the holidays, I hope you had a great Fire Flues Friday. That's universal, whether you like the holidays or not. He's fucking out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see him in the unemployment line this upcoming Monday. Really excited to just pick his brain on everything he's got going out. But I'm with the man, the myth, the legend himself, the man who currently is employed, unlike Matt Eberflus, Miles Porter. Miles, how you feel, baby?
That was a great intro, and I saw what you did with the intro for your show there. See that you switched it up a bit. You got
Ooh.
I watched the show, so I see what you
Oh,
did
thank you,
there.
sir. Thank you, sir. Well,
Um,
Christopher Morel overstayed his welcome just a little bit. Just a little bit. I
it's
should have I should have fixed that back in like August, but whatever.
it was fun while it lasted. I'm doing good. I'm chilling on this Friday night. I'm going to the Northwestern Illinois game tomorrow, Wrigley. That'll be fun. Then I'm having a bunch of friends over tomorrow for the Iron Bowl, and yeah, man, taking it easy. Turning. I have a birthday next week. I almost said what age I'm turning, but I
Turn
have a
what?
birthday.
Turn what? Turn what? Hey, you ain't as old as Gabe. I know that. That's
I'm
all I
not as
know.
old as Gabe, but
Whoa!
I'm turning 28 next week.
Wow, you're old as grass, brother.
All right.
All right. Anyways, the Chicago Bears fucking suck. Nothing new. No, just kidding. But in all seriousness, man, really just breaking it down, man. Wanted your opinion. Matt Eberflus gets fired. I know this is a baseball podcast, but we do have a few conversations we can have with Miles. Miles is universal. He's out there. He's that guy. Um, no, I just don't ask him anything about hockey because I don't know anything about hockey. So
Yeah.
we're both very equal when it comes to that. Um, but we do dissect the Bears and share pain every single
Yeah.
Sunday. So
Yeah.
for the first time in over 100 years, the Chicago Bears as an organization have fired a head coach in the middle of a season. Can you kind of take me through one? Do you think this was the most warranted? And two, what do you think finally led up to them biting that bullet of saying, maybe holding on to mediocrity isn't such a flex the way we think it is?
You know what? I think you just said it. Yeah, I think this was very much overdue. The past 3 4 games have been a bit painful to watch. How many times can we blow a game in the fourth quarter? It's ridiculous. And even yeah, I think yesterday was the icing on the cake. I mean, come on, man. Why are we wasting all this time in the fourth quarter just for to run out and just have a whatever pass? And I love Caleb Williams, and I'm hoping to see him, have some leadership, have a head coach that can, really guide this team and help him develop and just create new structure. Overall, man, good riddance. Good. That was painful. That was horrible, bro. So I'm ready. I'm ready for a new chapter in Chicago Bears football, and I'm very excited for the interim coach to get a chance as well.
For sure, for sure. Thomas Brown, doing his thing. I see him up there in the booth, very vocal,
Yeah.
very animated, which you love to see. I hate, the Mark Trestman era where he just kind of stood there, like blank face, just like a ghost, where it was just like, man, like, show me something. Show me you're excited. Show me you're sad. Show me you're mad. Show me something. Or like,
Yeah.
where Matt Eberflus was, I just called him the Eagle because he just stared. He had that 1,000 yard stare where he just like,
Yeah.
he had the sheet up. You couldn't see his eyes. You would just see right through him, and it'd be like,
Yeah.
ugh, like get away from me. And Flus reminded me a lot of my late grandma. I love my grandma, and a big part of why I loved her is because she never had to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And when she looked confused because we didn't know what, she didn't know what was going on. There was a big crowd at Thanksgiving dinner, whatever the case may be. It was okay. But when Matt Eberflus with 30 seconds left and a timeout, and you're in field goal range, and he's looking at me like, I'm very confused. Why do you look like you're more confused than I am? Like every single one of these players was very animated, very vocal. I think my favorite quote last night was from Cole Kmet, who said, "I still don't know what the fuck happened."
Yeah.
Keenan Allen saying
Exactly.
the players did their part, and when you
Yeah.
say that, it's kind of like, all right, yeah, well, fuck everybody else who's not a player, then, huh? And I
Yeah.
guess Jalen Johnson was very vocal in the locker room after the game as well. Is that your girlfriend walking in the
That's my
lounge right
girlfriend.
now?
She just walked
Oh
in.
my god. Okay, guys, get out of here. We gotta go. We can't. We're talking about things we can't have her
She
hear.
actually told me about the Eagles was firing before I even figured it out. She got the news. She was right on it. Let me know immediately, and I was like,
Mhm.
heck yeah, time to move
Mhm.
on.
Mhm. I hear you. I hear you. But man, let's get into some Cubs talk, man, because
Sure.
you'll be at Wrigley tomorrow for a
Yeah.
football game.
Mhm.
which I think at this point of the year is the only reason you'd be at Wrigley Field, because you told me that they will not get a dime out of you next season if this offseason serious moves aren't made. We get some reports saying that the Cubs are not only not interested in Juan Soto, but we're
Yeah.
not going after guys like Corbin Burns. We're not going after guys like Max Fried. And of course, now, because of the Los Angeles Dodgers, we are not going after Blake Snell, who just signed a 5-year, $182 million deal to reunite with Glasnow, which I think is actually pretty cool. But
Yeah.
to see both of them lose against the Dodgers in the World Series, now they're playing for them. It's you know what I mean? Like, hey
Full
man,
circle moment.
come rock with us, and
Yeah,
everything's gonna be
exactly.
a okay. But man, for you hear this news that the Cubs are likely not going to be interested. Now it is Bob Nightingale, but I think we know it's pretty reliable source. How do you feel about it, man?
Here's what pisses me off about the Cubs, and they continue to piss me off with this every single. Well, specifically under Jed Hoyer's leadership,
Mm-hmm.
we have not only tied our hands a bit when it comes to the players that we got. They're not even open minded to it. They're very sold on Isaac Paredes, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you're already sort of closing off the option of, okay, someone else may become available at that position. I wouldn't mind if Alex Bregman was a Chicago Cub or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everything is just so cost friendly with this team, and I will say that yes, Jed has built a good foundation for us, but now we're kind of locked in with these players, and there's not much flexibility aside from the financial part. I wish the Cubs were a bit more open minded in terms of who's available to completely cut off, anybody else, any of these big free agents for the off season, because you want to be complacent with the financials, and you feel like you got a good core, which I think is a load of shit. I just, I wish Jed Hoyer would kind of look at the bigger picture instead of just what is within the organization, and how many, discounts can we get. I think it's very half-assed.
For sure, for sure. And I always play this game with myself where I'm looking ahead in the future. 2026 free agency, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's somebody we could trade for this offseason, but why trade for someone if you could just get them in free agency next year?
Yeah.
It's not like the Cubs are going all in, going into this year. Luis Arias, Max Muncy, Bo Bichette. You got a few guys you can sit there and say right now are going to be big time guys, but at this point in
Yeah.
time, it's more so a weaker free agency class. Trevor Story, Tommy Edman,
Hmm.
Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor is actually a pretty good name, but I don't think it's the craziest of all free agencies. You know what I mean? So
Agreed.
I'm
Yeah.
very curious to see, what the future looks like for them and what the future looks like for the Chicago Cubs, and when are we going to have that summer? When is it going to be the year of the Cubs again? I think it really comes through free agency. I know a lot of people sit here today and they'll tell you, hey man, like you can't buy a championship, but I kind of just watched the Dodgers do it. And
Said it. Yeah.
I saw the Yankees almost do it.
Yeah.
Outside of Aaron Judge, we're not asking you to just spend $1 billion in offseason, but the New York Mets got very close and they spent $500 million
Hmm.
just to not have guys play on that roster.
Yeah.
Whereas we're watching Jason Hayward play damn near the remaining of his contract. We're still paying for him. So, I think
Okay,
for me,
right,
man,
right,
I don't know. I don't know, Miles, because like I want to throw you a question. I know this is a little out of order because it's just Miles and I shooting this shit. This isn't like, we can have whatever kind of conversation we
yeah.
want to. But how differently do you think the Rizzo Bryant Baez experiment would have been had you gone after Bryce Harper? If you added Bryce Harper to that roster and expand that lineup where it's Rizzo, Bryant,
Yeah.
Baez, Schwarber, Harper, you got Contreras still there as well. Um, and then whatever you want to do, with that other outfielder, Ian Happ still being there as well, I think it's a very different look. And maybe you still don't bring back the core. But you got two hometown best friends and Chris Bryant and Bryce Harper. You still got the
Yeah.
Brizzo experiment. Javi was an MVP candidate. Wilson was coming into his own. Schwarber goes on to hit 40 bombs damn near a year.
Yeah.
He's just a walking 40 piece. So,
Yeah.
again, it doesn't have to be Harper, but we've talked about Machado and Harper and Trout and Otani and all these different guys.
Hmm.
How different would the Coors era have been if you would have brought in one of those big name pieces?
I think it would have definitely added, especially even when I look at Bryce Harper. I think he would have been like a somewhat good feeling in terms of just Dexter Fowler signed with the Cardinals after the World Series, and we kind of struggled with that. But I think, obviously we're not going to have Bryce Harper lead off, but I think that now we're adding more depth to that lineup. It would have kind of made up for what we were missing in Dexter. I think it would have been a huge difference. And that core that we had was full of so much personality. Now you're adding more personality to that team. Bryce Harper's a bit of a firecracker. Fun fact: my girlfriend does not like Bryce Harper. She heard Bryce Harper's name just now, and she gave me it was a look where it was Remember, she's from Atlanta, Braves fan.
Sure.
Harper and the Braves, that's a no-go.
Sure. I mean, honestly, Harper and myself is a no-go, and that's just because of what he was able to do. Like, look, I got it right here. I got String Bean signed card right here. I remember it to this day. I will never forget. I will never forget what this man did to Carl Edwards Jr. in 2017. It lives in my head rent free, 24/7. So I'm with her. The wife is never wrong. The wife is never wrong.
No, never wrong.
But I definitely I tell her I hope I'm still invited over tomorrow. But I still do believe if you would have brought in a Bryce Harper or hey, Addison Russell decided to just be a piece of shit human being. Let's get Manny Machado. Let's get and who in fairness is also a piece of shit human being, but at least he's not domestically abusing his partner. There's levels to this shit. Like,
there's levels to
Manny's a douchebag.
Manny Machado's also grown a bit over the past 3-4 seasons. It's been cool to see that evolution.
Right. So yeah, Manny might be a douchebag, but at least he's not. Yeah. A horrible human being. So, regardless, and shout out Mr. Smith. He was my old PE teacher. He once told me, I remember the year was 2016 or 2017 when Manny Machado was still in Baltimore. And I said, I think the Cubs should trade Addison Russell and prospects for Manny Machado. And he said, you're an idiot. Why would they do that? Addison Russell is the face of the Chicago Cubs organization. And then one domestic violence case and one hole punched in a wall later, Addison Russell was no longer in Major League Baseball. So shout out Mr. Smith. But he knows ball. Guy knows ball. Guy walked around every day in Notre Dame shorts. Never once went to Notre Dame. He coached at Northtown, so I don't know what he was doing. And but it is what it is. Shout out Mr. Smith. But no, man. In all seriousness, bro, like I really do just think we missed out on an opportunity back then in the Theo Epstein era, and I think we continue to miss out on opportunities now. Like you and I mean, I've spent how long in Iowa? I've spent how long in the middle of Des Moines, brother? And I'm like, you go down there and you want to see these guys rock out, and a lot of our friends who come on the pod talk to us, and they tell us about their experiences, and I'm really excited to see what the careers of a Matt Shaw, Moises Ballesteros, and so many others looks like, but. Yeah, but it's just not Bryce Harper. You know what I mean? I don't know where I'm going. We're kind of just shooting the shit and we're kind of just venting. This is a little Cubs therapy session. Usually we do Bears therapy sessions, but it's the off season, man. We don't got much to go off of. But I
just wish that we were more open minded. I hate the fact that right now we are sort of correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen is we're pretty much locked in terms of the lineup for next year. That's going to be, I think, pretty much the same exact lineup. Even when we get rid of our bench pieces, that's the same exact lineup.
Right.
Also coming off of 2 years in a row of 83 wins, of very, very okay baseball. I remember I was watching David Kaplan the other day because I love David Kaplan. I love Cap. And it was funny just hearing him talk about how he just wants to he referenced the documentary between the Red Sox and the Yankees and
great
Theo Epstein, Jed Hoyer during that era.
Gets food poison on Thanksgiving, still gets the deal done. Shout out Jed Hoyer.
Dude, and it's cool. They brought in Kevin Millar to just have that personality to really fire these boys up because they weren't built crazy, but they were a very good ball club. They just needed that personality. I wish the Cubs would be somewhat open minded to at least bringing in someone who's gonna shake the clubhouse up a little bit. A lot of fire under some of these dudes. I love the Chicago Cubs. This team is my heart and soul, and I'll continue to say that. But this was a very boring team to watch this year. I would have loved to see Craig Counsell go out and stick up for Seiya Suzuki with the amount of bad calls that he got this past season. That's ridiculous. Seiya Suzuki obviously is someone who he's not going to bash the umps. We heard it. He's not going to bash the umpires. But I would love if Craig Counsell came out and said, "Hey, this is BS. I hope MLB cleans this up or just some sort of fire, something, man, something." Yeah. This is a very I love these guys, but that was a bit of a vanilla team, and I
Mm,
really cherish someone like Imanaga and Suzuki and Pico Armstrong and whoever, Justin Steele, the guys that
yeah.
do bring that personality. These are guys that want to keep around, but we also need to add a little bit to that dynamic as well. And then I think we're going to see a very fun baseball team. The Cubs are never going to suck. We just don't want to stick with being okay.
Mhm. No, for sure. And I think like for me, like it goes back to what we saw in the middle of the season where Justin Steele told everybody to wake the fuck up. And I
Exactly.
think that for me wasn't like what you mentioned earlier. That wasn't a guy who typically does that. That was legitimate frustration from Justin
Mm-hmm.
Steele. He wasn't doing that to try to get everybody going. Like he wasn't
Yeah.
trying to hype anybody up. He was telling you like get your shit together. This team couldn't hit
Let's go.
water if they fell off a boat on a
Yeah.
crisp 1912 night.
Yeah.
I'm, like we're talking about the Titanic, brother. Like like that's what it is. But like in all seriousness, like
Yeah.
seeing a guy like Steele be that emotionally invested in this team, that's when you start to okay, that brings me back. There are guys who care. There are guys who want to see us have success. But to
Yeah.
see none of them really respond to that outside of and to your point, like a Dansby Swanson, he was great in the towards the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously first half, you and I saw firsthand what he looked like in April and May with that knee, and it
Yeah.
definitely was affecting him. But again, like if you're healthy, you got to go out there. If you're
Yeah.
not, sit down. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
we have to judge you for what you are. Pete Crow Armstrong, second
Right.
half, oh my God, Pete Crow Armstrong, an absolute monster. Um, but it's definitely it raises questions. It raises questions because I think I look back on the 2015 Cubs and I try to ask myself, where are we at today? And you and I kind of talked about it, around spring training. I was like, I think this is the 2015 year for the Cubs, and I think it's going to
Yeah.
lead us to a position to where if we make the playoffs this year, this team will be ready to contend come 2025,
Mm-hmm.
2026. Little did I know the Los Angeles Dodgers decided it doesn't matter what other bills they need to pay. It doesn't matter what other guys they have on the payroll. We're going all in. So like, and deferred money, I guess,
We'll
is
pay it
just
later. We'll pay it
yeah.
later. Just waiting for us now. We'll pay you later.
Put it
All right.
on my tab. I'm not
Put it
worried
on my
about it.
tab.
I'm
Exactly.
like, all right, fuck it. But yeah, I can't be mad at them. And by the way, shout out
No.
to old Dominic. They doing the thing. You put it on their tab. But no, man. In all seriousness, like
No.
I can't be mad at the Los Angeles Dodgers deferring money because we could do it too. You know what I mean? Like anybody could do it. Hypothetically
Right.
speaking, the Mets have been doing it. How long did they have deferred money? They're paying. I forgot what's dude's name. They're paying
What's
like
his
$1
name?
million
Yeah.
a year.
The Mets
Like,
guy. He has his own day
yeah,
specifically. I
yeah.
forgot his name. Yeah. Uh huh.
But you know what I'm talking about. But
Yes.
it's frustrating, man, because we could do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think about how different is the 2024 Cubs lineup with Shohei Ohtani? Now that's a big, that's a big ask because obviously I think he was going to LA all along. I don't think it was
Mm-hmm.
ever in question, but it definitely does make you think. It makes you wonder, like, man, like what could have been different? How could we have gone about it a different way? And I think we're still trying to figure that out, but I do want to get into Cody Bellinger opting into his 2024 deal.
Mm-hmm.
$27.5 million straight up. Now there are incentives, but we'll see what happens with that. Now the Cubs are likely going to move him or attempt to move him at some point this offseason and at any point going into next season. Cody Bellinger not being on the books going into 2025, how important is that for you right now? Because you have guys like Owen Casey, Mike Talkman, hey, the Palatine Pounder, shout out to him, no longer a part of this ball club. Patrick Wisdom, Nick Madrigal, and others also were let go by the Chicago Cubs,
Yeah.
being non-tenured. So you have
Yeah.
that going on. Owen Casey's right at the door. Do you even want there to be a conversation between the two, or would you rather the Cody situation be dealt with this winter?
I would much rather be dealt with this winter. I just and I just it almost goes back to my point earlier, where it's just in terms of we've locked ourselves up so much to the point where we can't even bring. We have to depend on moving guys in order to see some of these amazing prospects get called up. That drives me insane. I love Belly. I think he had such a great dynamic to the team. When he's hitting great, and his defense speaks for itself. Um, but at the same time, he's the only one that's really movable. So there's someone that we got to move in terms of developing this team more. I would be okay with it if they decided to move him this offseason to make room for an Owen Casey, because you got to call this kid up in 2025 at
Right.
some point. I mean, come on, he's tearing it up. Matt Shaw tearing it up. These are guys that you want to see them get an opportunity. So if there's pieces that we can move, I think we got to move them.
Hmm.
Belly, Nico Horner, guys that we're actually able to move them.
I'm with you. I'm with you, and I think like for me, it really does come down to what the future of this team looks like, and I think I really just break down the prospect side of things. Miles hates when I get into it but it is important to me, and I think it is very valuable. Like Miles, if you do remember the Cubs third baseman in 2013, 2014, do you remember who it was?
Um, there's a face that I cannot put a name to, but I do remember, but I cannot get the name out.
Mike Olt.
Michael,
Mike Olt was the third baseman of the Chicago Cubs in
and for the
2014.
Rangers, he had that eye. Yes,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yes.
Now here's my thing. A lot of people are upset that you might just be dumping Cody Bellinger to make room for an Owen Casey. And I'll tell you exactly why that's okay to me is because this is one of the top prospects in baseball. This is one
Hmm.
of the top left-handed power bats in all of minor league baseball. He is somebody that I believe is going to be a franchise caliber player, a pillar to a championship caliber team, whether that's with the Cubs or not. Whether they shop him, whether they keep him, that's neither here nor there. But the idea that you can't just dump Cody Bellinger and replace him with a prospect is idiotic to me. And
Yeah,
I think it's because, okay, let me ask you this. 2014 season ends. Did the Chicago Cubs bring in a third baseman to replace Mike Olt, or did they say this is the Chris Bryant show now? Like that's a reality, right? Like maybe the beginning of April due to financial reasons, you
right.
didn't see a Chris Bryant, but the reality
Luis
is
Valbuena, I believe, at some point
right.
that year. I think so. Yeah,
Right, but like you're not
yeah.
signing a big name free agent to
Nope.
replace a kid who is a homegrown talent
Yeah.
who is going to be a part of this organization for years to come. And that's where I'm okay with it. Now,
Yeah.
what I'm not okay with is you telling me, yeah, man, unfortunately, we got Owen Casey, we got Pete Crow Armstrong. We could add Juan Soto, but we gave Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki no trade clauses because we just wanted to. And it's like, and respectfully, Ian's great. Ian's done amazing things. I give him a hard time, but he really has done great things in this
Yeah.
Cubs org. Seiya Suzuki, offensively, I think he sees the ball better than anybody, and
Hmm.
I think defensively he's trying. And I think
Hmm.
that's really where I'm at. But Ian, what 2022 didn't do enough for me to get a no trade clause. Seiya Suzuki, who had 0 minutes in Major League Baseball, did not do enough for me to get a no trade clause. You know what I mean? And that's like it's really
Yeah.
what it was. And for both of them to be in this situation, you got guys like Dansby Swanson who also have one as well. It's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating. So I definitely hear the fans who are saying,
Hmm.
"I'm pissed because you're gonna dump off Cody Bellinger and not be in on Juan Soto." That's fine, but also understand Cody Bellinger is on the downward path, whereas Owen Casey is on an upward spiral and he's coming
Right.
fast. So no Diddy, but I think it's gonna be really exciting to see what he's gonna be able to do. And like I said, just because you're losing Mike Olt doesn't mean you got to go out there and get one of the best third basemen when you got
Nope.
Chris Bryant, rookie Chris Bryant, just
Oh my
sitting there
god.
in Des Moines, Iowa, waiting for an opportunity. So
Yeah.
man, let's get into a little. I want to have a little fun segment. I don't got the reef out yet. I think it's over. It's over there. But we got a on a budget Christmas wish list for the Chicago Cubs. Obviously,
Mm.
Daddy Jed's not going to be spending too much money this
Nope.
offseason, but he's on a budget. He just got laid off. Be nice. Be nice. Don't bother Dad. He's gonna get mad. But we're trying to figure out what the Chicago Cubs could potentially bring in to be competitive in 2024. They obviously just made a trade with the Cleveland Guardians, bringing in Morgan. Miles,
Yeah.
what do you want to see the Cubs do this offseason? I guess on a budget.
Yes. So this will not happen, but my wish list is we trade Michael Bush and Nico Horner to the Blue Jays, and they give us Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That is my wish list for Christmas. Hope Santa Claus is listening. He's not. When I say Santa, I'm referring to Jed Hoyer.
Hmm.
That would be great. I would love to have that power aspect of the lineup, and I think he would complement some of these other hitters so well. And then also you clear up spaces at second base, so then you could bring up like whoever matchup.
Right.
I would love that.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
my
For
that's
sure.
my biggest wish.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm digging it. I think Max Fried was one of those guys on my list, but stop
Mhm.
it. Dad can't afford that right now. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But he could afford a DraftKings casino, a network, and a hotel across the street. But that's fine. Um, for me, I Jack Flaherty comes to mind. I think Jack Flaherty's one of
Yeah,
those guys, especially after the Dodgers brought in Blake Snell. I don't see them bringing him back. He's that guy who has a lot of fun. If you saw him at the parade, the guy was blasted, and he's having the time of his life. Obviously, the velocity's gone down a little bit, but I think he is
mhm.
somebody that I find very interesting to be a part of this Cubs pitching arsenal, just because
Yeah,
we have a lot of guys who you and I have kind of talked about it. Their fastballs cut more than anything, whereas
right.
with Jack, it's, hey man, if I need him to just throw a dart, he can throw a dart, and that's just really
Hmm.
what it comes down to. So I
Yeah,
really would like a guy like Jack Flaherty on a cheaper deal, maybe a Walker Bueller, somebody else I would find very interesting. Now that you like I said, like now that Blake Snell is here, it kind of changes the geography of where guys like Walker Bueller and Jack Flaherty are going to potentially end up. So those are two guys that I'm definitely interested in. I think the rotation is really what I want to beef up the most. I know the bullpen was a problem. But I definitely do think we have enough prospects to come in and fill in that bullpen role. You got guys like Ben
absolutely.
Brown. I'm excited. Zach Lee is another guy you can name. Maybe they bring Carl Edwards Jr. back for a couple weeks like last year, just for shits and giggles.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Call him up though if you're gonna do that. Don't
oh,
don't.
oh
That's
yeah, I know Carl felt some. Carl had to have felt some type of way just sitting
for
in Des
sure.
Moines. For sure,
Yeah.
like I'm a World Series champion, brother. Like, are you just trying to sell tickets in Des Moines, Iowa, in May? But yeah, that's really where I'm at because like you said, like if it's not go big or go home, I think the smaller options definitely do make the most sense and they make
Yeah.
room. Like, listen, Nico Horner right now might miss the beginning of the 2025 season after that offseason surgery on his
Yeah.
arm. Um, does that give an opportunity for Matt Shaw or James Triantos to come up and make sure we never forget their name? Definitely. You know what I mean?
Certainly.
Because
Hmm.
like the reality of the situation and what I'm afraid happens in 2025 is, let's say Nico Horner misses the beginning of the 2025 season because of that arm surgery he had this offseason. Let's say Matt Shaw comes in. It could be Triantos, it could be Shaw, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Let's say one of them comes in to fill in at second base and they over exceed expectations. Now you take them out. Here's a Nico Horner who's fresh off of rehabbing. Maybe he's off to a slow start. And you start to have this Javi Baez, Starlin Castro type issue where the
Yeah.
fans love Starlin, but
Hmm.
Javi's right there. You know what I mean? And you
Exactly.
can't move. You're not moving Dansby.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's very interesting to me to see what could potentially happen. And I think Nico not being there at all, whether that's traded to Seattle or Toronto or whatever the case may be, definitely does change things. But
They got to be open minded. They got to be open
got
minded
it.
to make a move. It's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Would
I did. I don't. I just don't want them to keep playing things so safe. It's okay to take a chance and ship Nico and bring up Matt Shaw or James
right.
Triantos and see what they can do.
Right. Would you? All right. So we're in a scenario right now, right, where you're kind of just dumping Cody Bellinger's contract. But you do understand this is a multi-time Gold Glover. A great
Yes.
defensive first baseman and
Hmm.
outfielder,
Hmm.
Silver Slugger, MVP, World Series champ. We could do the list all day long.
Yeah.
Do you pair him up with Nico Horner and try to get a bigger fish rather than just something decent for Nico and then maybe just a salary dump for Cody? Because regardless, I think you're winning because you're bringing in Owen Casey and Matt Shaw
Yeah.
immediately. But then if you can get a Vladdy in exchange for Nico Horner and Cody
Hmm.
Bellinger, do you do it?
Out in a heartbeat. And I think that these are two such great ball players as well. And to me, it's like I want to reiterate, it is nothing against them as players. It is just certain things are not working right now. I would love for us to find a way to bring Vladdy in here and to get one of our top prospects up because that'll be huge. That
Mm-hmm.
that'll be huge for us, especially if we're not going to really bolster anything else.
Not for sure. Now, there is someone in Japan right now that is very interesting.
Yep.
Roki Sasaki, coming to the friendly confines near you in 2025. Now, the Dodgers, and I've said this probably 6 or 7 times already in this pod. It's basically just a Dodgers pod at this time because I'm just envious. They bring in Blake Snell,
Yeah.
and Miles, I would pray to God that means they're out on Roki.
Right.
Do you think that means the Cubs are the favorites, or do you think the Dodgers still find a way to get this guy in a Dodger blue uniform?
I'm hoping that the Cubs are favorites. I really am. I'm hoping that Shota Imanaga and Seiya Suzuki are having an influence of some sort. We don't know what kind of conversations are going on. I'm hoping that that ups the Cubs' chances 100%. I think the Dodgers rotation is pretty full, but for the most part, I can see them moving like Tony Gonsolin and then putting in Roki Sasaki in there, and then the Dodgers go on to win 7 World Series for the next 7 straight seasons.
For
I
sure.
don't want that. I'll cry in a corner. My girlfriend's gonna have to deal with it. I'm hoping the Cubs are in on Roki Sasaki. Just figure out a way for the Dodgers to not get them, to
Yeah.
not get him, bro.
Right.
Figure out a way. Oh my gosh, I cannot deal with the Dodgers signing someone else.
Right.
This blank check that they have. I'm very jealous.
No, for sure. Man, my boy, shout out Adam Saleh. That's my brother. Since 2014, we went to high school together. Diehard Sox fan, turned into a Dodgers fan around 2019, 2020. No, so like it's so serious too because
Man,
it wasn't even about the Dodgers, being who they are. It was just he was so tired of just falling in love with these prospects that just never turned into anything or them not spending enough money. And in the same year that they lost the most games in Major League Baseball history, this man got to celebrate a second World Series with the Dodgers. So shout out to my boy for jumping ship.
good
He's
for
a
him.
good for him, but better man than me because I could never do it. I think I like the pain. I think I like it here. That's my toxic trait. Is I'm very okay with just hating Sundays and hating 162 days out of the year for the Chicago
For
Cubs.
sure.
But
Yeah,
in all seriousness, Roki Sasaki is one of those guys that I do think the Cubs have an upper hand and leverage in getting
absolutely.
because they can make an argument. Look how Yamamoto performed in the Dodgers organization in his first
Hmm.
year versus Shota Imanaga, who
Hmm.
got Cy Young votes. Like, this was
Yeah,
a guy who got Rookie of the Year votes. Like, this
yeah.
is somebody who I believe is going to be one of the pivotal pieces to potentially bring in Roki because you've seen
Oh
what
my
Shota was
gosh.
able to do
Yeah.
at a much older age, still out there just gunning it. So I'm excited, man. I definitely do think we have a case to be made. Seiya Suzuki's a guy who bats 280 pretty much every year.
Hmm.
I don't think anybody could teach that man how to play defense. Jason Hayward himself couldn't help that brother. But I definitely do think I definitely do think from a pitching aspect, the Cubs do have an upper hand at getting a guy like Sasaki, and
Yes.
I think it would be a great fit for the Cubs. Um, I just don't know if they're willing to do it. But Miles, before we get you out of here, man, Bash Academy legend himself, Miles Porter. One last thing, Jed Hoyer on the hot seat
Hmm.
by the end of 2025, yes or no?
Yes. Yes. I mean, I, I don't know how many more times I could hear this man say the organization is such a good place. Blah blah blah. Dude, make it happen. Figure out
Mm,
a way. You are 100% in the hot seat. And if yeah, the Cubs cannot do any worse than what they did these past 2 seasons for this coming up 2025 campaign. They just cannot. Um,
mm-hmm.
the Ricketts should not accept it. Cubs fans are not accept it. Players are not accepting it. Mr. Hoyer, I'm hoping you are doing your due diligence right now and figuring out a way to put a winning team on the baseball field for a fan base that loves its team so much.
Mm,
Wrigley is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I question the DJ choices, but that's another conversation. My friend is a DJ for the Brewers if they want their number. And I think that it's just important for Jets to really kind of full send it this year. By the way, what do you have to lose? I mean, what you spend some money and then you still get fired. It's not your problem after that. If I'm Jed Hoyer, I'm figuring I am fully sending this. I'm doing everything I can to at least put a 90-win ball club on this team to show, hey, I want to see this progression sort of speed up a bit. Yes, he is on the hot seat. Make it happen. Hurry up.
yeah, I'm with you.
Been what,
I'm
3-4 years since 2021 since we traded our core away?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, you're waiting for that moment to kind of get back to where we are. I think it took 3, 4 years to even find out who was gonna be our long term first baseman, and he's only
Yeah.
had one good season, 1 year in the league. So is that even long term? I don't know.
We're sold on
Um,
we're sold on the third baseman that has not proven anything to me. I'll give him a full season, but I am not sold on
no, yeah,
him
I
at
get you.
all. I'm
I'm
just
with you.
not.
I mean, defensively, there was a big difference between him and Christopher Morel, but
For sure.
offensively,
Yeah,
there
yeah, yeah.
there really
Big
wasn't
difference.
offensively though.
Hmm.
And I think for me, man, before we get out of here, like to kind of piggyback off that, what I'm trying to figure out is when is the window. when do the Cubs start to take over? Because I'm all for waiting for Matt Shaw and Cade Horton and Ben
for sure.
Brown and Owen Casey, like Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm for it. I'm hell bent
Yeah,
on the prospect level. But where does the window open up if the Mets get Juan Soto and the Dodgers continue to add superstar after superstar? And when do the
yeah,
Cubs be able to catch up? Unless you expect Pete Crow Armstrong, Owen Casey, and Matt Shaw to all end up being Hall of Famers. Like
right.
if they are ending up to be, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman level, talent, you can't sit here and say
Yeah,
they're going to be Shohei Ohtani level talent. But
right.
if they're around that realm of, hey, we're all stars, we are also great as well, that's all fine and dandy. But like, when does the window really begin for the Cubs when, you got giant juggernauts, giant gladiators
Yeah,
in the puppy house? Like if you're gonna
yeah,
piss like a puppy, then stay on the porch. That's what Jamal Williams always says, and that's what I always like to stand by. And it's real though,
yeah,
because it's like everybody in Major League Baseball is sitting on the porch right now, and I see about 3 or 4 teams that are really going out there. You got the Mets,
yeah,
you got the Dodgers, you got the Padres, you got the Yankees, and then sometimes the Braves come out there and they just decide that they got the biggest dong in the building. But that's really just where I'm at. Is like, okay, but all these guys are great, but at what point are you going to start spending money? Because
right.
the Dodgers have these guys locked up on 7 to 13 year deals. So who's the next big name free agent that's going to be a
Dodgers
free
are
agent?
letting it be known, hey, we're gonna be winning. We won last year.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna win a lot more.
Yeah.
We're gonna catch up, boy. You better do a full sprint because we are already way past the finish
Yeah,
line.
and
We already
The
lapped you
Phillies are
fools
right
three
there too.
times.
Like
Exactly.
The Phillies are even like, hey man, we're not gonna win, but at least we got the names. We're selling jerseys for sure.
Right.
So like that's really where I'm at. But I appreciate you guys being there. Appreciate you guys tuning in today to Miles and I. We gotta start a little pod, Eminem doing a little thing. But no man, we'll be back at it. We're gonna be doing a War Media podcast, and at that podcast, hopefully this upcoming week, if I read it correctly.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
But it's kind of our first episode all together. If Gabe does join, I know Gabe said I'm gonna let y'all have that, but yeah, it's all right,
We
Gabe.
gotta
It's
get
a
Gabe in there.
yeah,
We gotta
it's
get
a
him
it's a sad party, brother. The White Sox are more than welcome at the sad party anytime.
in
But
there.
we appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already. Until then, until next time, peace.
Give them a shot to do what?